Alright guys, welcome back to this channel. If you've seen my video about the lessons that I've learned from my vacation trip, then you should have an idea as to how this video will be structured. These are 5 lessons that I've learned from my mission trip. Number 1 is face-to-face marketing is key. In a time where we feel compelled to share and market our product or brand, mainly over social media, through our website, things that are online only, we miss out on the opportunity to do face-to-face interactions and marketing. So I could do one of two things. I can spend time blasting my YouTube channel on various websites or on social media or whatever, and potentially get followers or subscribers. But these would be people that I wouldn't really have known personally, people that could be in a different side of the country or whatever, never met. And that's fine, but I am more interested in getting people and subscribers who I actually know, people I already have personal relationships with, so that my audience is comprised of a more genuine and authentic group of people that can literally come up to me the next day I put out a video and say, hey, I really like this video you made. That's something that I value a little more than just having just a basic group of people who I don't know. Now, I'm not going to say that having this sort of generic audience is bad. I just would value that face-to-face interaction and that marketing and connections and whatnot a lot more, because those are people that want to have a much better long-term connection relationship with. Number 2, in this regards, coffee. I've learned to change up my routine. So for me, with coffee, I had kind of gone through a phase of just having coffee every day, and I would get into this routine of having the same kind of coffee. French press, hot brew, with a little bit of creamer in it, just a dash of creamer, and that'd be my go-to cup of coffee. But after a while, it would get a little boring, just because the flavor is the same, nothing's really different. I get bored with it. It's not as exciting, and I'm somebody who loves coffee. Like, I really love coffee. So if a cup of coffee is boring to me, that kind of sucks. So during this trip, I had the opportunity to try different coffee. Our community cup of coffee was this type of coffee that had a sort of fruity, acidic flavor to it. Even though it wasn't my favorite, I still enjoyed that it was different. It was something different to bring to my flavor palette. And then because we were in NOLA, of course you have to go to Cafe Du Monde. With my beignet, I had a black coffee with chicory. I have no idea what chicory is, but coffee was freaking good. And it really reinvigorated my excitement and joy for coffee. Just exploring different types of flavors that are out there. That sort of framework, that anecdote can be used to assess other routines that we may have in our lives that are good routines and habits to have, but maybe at some point they just become monotonous because it's just the same thing over and over and over again. So maybe you take the opportunity to change it up, to do something different. Whether you're in a different location for this routine or habit, you're doing it at a different time of the day, you're changing your process, like with exercise, your quiet time with God, any routine that you have that is pretty easy to just do the same old thing. Find a different way to approach it, find a different space to work in, so that routine doesn't just become an obligatory thing you do throughout the day. It's not a second nature thing. It's really easy for that to happen because our minds have this tendency to lean towards normalcy. So that's why building habits work the way they do. We do it over and over and over until it becomes second nature. And there's some habits or some routines, like for me with coffee, I don't want it to just be a monotonous, boring thing that I do passively. I want to actively drink and enjoy the coffee. So for me to achieve that, I have to change things up from time to time. Number three is know who you're working with. So in this book, Piercing the Darkness, a sequel to This Present Darkness, the main character uh, is under scrutiny over a falsification of an event that occurred, and because of that, there are rumors being spread that this guy's a member of the church, and the other members of the church who ought to have known him and ought to trust him to teach and guide the students and these people's children, all of a sudden they have this mindset of, oh, well, I don't really know who this person is. I don't know what he's doing. Therefore, he's not trustworthy. And they were susceptible to those rumors, to those lies, the falsifications, and it showed me like they never really knew their neighbor. They never really knew their church member to begin with, and the people who did know him knew exactly what really happened, and they knew that this person was not capable of doing wrong in this manner. And that's something that we have to reflect on and think about. Like, we have to know who we're working with. It's that at work, at your church group, in your tight knit group of friends. You have to know who those people are, because in those situations where something may come up or a rumor may be spread about this, that, or the other, you can be there knowing this person and say, no, that's not correct. I know this person would not do that because of this, this, and this. Or on the adverse side of that, maybe you know this person well enough that you understand some of the struggles and things that they're dealing with, so that if a situation comes up, then you will understand why that occurred. We're so quick to judge a situation based off of what we see, but without really knowing that individual and what they're going through, we wouldn't really get a full understanding of why the situation occurred, what all is involved in a situation. We can only see a portion of it, but there's this whole other thing that may be going on in this person's life that if they are within our group, if they're in our community or whatever, we should know that person. The other side of this lesson in regards to this trip specifically, we spent some time just talking about communication and how we should get to know each other, or at least understand how to communicate better with each other. And we talked about two different tests, the love language quiz and the Enneagram test. There was a group of 14 people that were going to be spending time together 24/7 for 7 days straight. So we had no choice but to get to know each other. We had no choice but to get close in the things that we were doing and the time we were hanging out, having fun. So going back to the quizzes, the tests, the love language test is good for understanding an individual's method of communication. Like how do I like to be communicated to? How do I like to communicate to others? So with the love language, there's acts of service, words of affirmation, gifts or tokens of gratitude, I think, physical touch, and quality time. I think that's really helpful because if my friend likes to be communicated a certain way, I can better reach that person, or I know how not to reach that person. Like if I do acts of service for him, thinking that's going to brighten his day, and he doesn't care, he doesn't give two craps about service or whatever, then I would have missed the mark, and there's just been a barrier still. With the Enneagram test, there are 9 different types that kind of meld from one to the next, and that is best served for understanding the actions that somebody does and the mindset that they have, but digging deep into the motivations and the fears behind that. Why this person feels this way, why the person feels compelled to communicate this way or do these things or have a certain mindset or perspective. And I think that both of those were really helpful in our conversations to understand how we would communicate with each other, how we would interact with each other, understand those situations that there's a struggle that this person has, and now we have a slightly better understanding of why that struggle is or how to work with that person in that struggle. I'm going to leave links below for both of those tests. I would highly recommend you take them. I find them to be really, really beneficial in understanding yourself and then getting to know and understand those around you. Number 4 is your skills and talents can always be utilized even when you don't expect it. I had no idea that throughout this trip that my experience as a dishwasher would come in handy, that my skills as a painter would be useful for some of the projects we were working on. But because I had those particular set of skills, I fit in a certain area, in a certain position with those group projects we were working on. And I think that's important. It's another aspect of just kind of knowing what your skills are, what your gifts are, what God has designed you to do. Because in a group situation, so for example, if you are in a group and you're having to do some kind of math thing. I don't know math, so we're just gonna say math thing. And you're the kind of person who's really good with numbers and calculations and stuff. You're gonna best serve that group doing this specific thing, not being the person who's just kind of helping out on the back end of things. You want to be really utilizing your skills correctly and serving that group. And I think that's just something that we should really keep in mind when in group situations. You know, place yourself where you best fit, and don't feel bad if your position is something that may be minimal, or you may not be putting as much effort or contributing as much as somebody else, because God designed you in a very, very specific way. He gave you a certain set of talents and passions and skills to be used in a very certain way. So hold on to that, own it, and work with it. Number 5 is a vacation does not and should not mean that you get to break your routines. I'm not really sure why, but we have this tendency to think that a vacation means that anything goes as far as our personal habits and routines. Throughout this trip, I found that I started to make the excuse of, as far as like my eating habits, oh, well, I'm on vacation, so I get to eat as many cookies as I want. I get to consume more sugar than I should because I'm on vacation. And I wasn't really sure why I was thinking that, but it kind of hit me like these routines and habits that I set when I was at home were set for a reason, to give myself certain boundaries so I can live a healthy lifestyle, or other habits, routines, for exercise and a quiet time with God, certain things that were placed in motion for a better lifestyle and for me to be more productive and effective with my time. Some of those things are such a big deal that a vacation shouldn't neglect that. Now, there are some routines that may be a little more small scale, and those may be relevant to your location, like exercise. You may not be able to do a full-on workout every day when you're on vacation, but maybe you can do a compromise and just get like do a small scale workout or exercise just to kind of keep your body moving. There are other routines that are perfectly okay for you to not worry about on vacation. That's up to you. That's your personal walk and your lifestyle. I know for me, there are habits and routines that I should not quit doing, like my quiet time in the morning. There's no reason why, because I'm on vacation, I get to just stop studying the Word. I get to stop having quiet time and personal time with God. I really don't think that He would enjoy or be okay with me just taking a vacation from prayer and having time with Him. So there's a certain level of responsibility that we still have to have, and that we should assess in our lives. Like, what are these routines and habits that I should continually do, even though I'm on vacation, I'm relaxing. So I hope you've enjoyed all of that. Hope that's been useful and helpful in your life. Feel free to comment below to let me know what habits and routines that you probably have neglected on vacation and probably would reconsider the next time around. It's summer. I know most everybody's been thinking vacations. Let me know if you have any lessons that you've learned, any opportunities you had to learn from those vacation trips. Just learning about yourself, those around you, the work of God. Let me know. Let's talk. Let's communicate. Also, if you have any suggestions for coffee, at some point, sometime soon, I'm going to start changing my whole coffee process. I'm going to start investing in coffee beans and a grinder and stuff, so I can kind of open my palate a little more. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to let me know that as well. Until next time, guys, deuces.